Hello there guys and welcome back to 100% Chelsea for the second episode of Chelsea Weekly. By the way, thank you for name suggestions. We like that, so we're going to go with that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to talk about today, so I just get straight into it. Just before I do that though, click the card and check out Louis' video where we talked about, your opinions, whether we prefer, who we think's better between Zola and Hazard. Do check that out, and do leave a comment down in the comment section below because we do want to know your opinion on that. But now getting into this week's Chelsea Weekly. So obviously there was the very boring, very annoying international break on. I'll run you through all our players that went out on international duty, how they did, and what happened pretty much. So first one is Belgium. Obviously there was Thibaut Courtois and Michy Batshuayi. Eden Hazard was called up, but then had to pull out because of the injury he picked up just before the last game we played before the international break. So like I said last week, he couldn't make the international break, the Belgium squad. Hazard was there was numerous reports that he might actually be injured for the City game as well, and then there have been reports that he might actually be able to be fit for Crystal Palace on Saturday. So that'd obviously be great. We're not 100% sure on where we stand and will he be fit? Will he not be? There is a chance, but it's not 100% guaranteed that he will be fit for Palace. But I'm very confident that he will be available for the Manchester City game Wednesday next week. Also, Thibaut Courtois picked up a minor hip injury, which kept him out of their second game of the international break. But yeah, the two games were in the World Cup qualifiers against Greece. They drew 1-0. Just looked like they scored a very late equaliser, even though they really should have won. As it happens. And then they played a friendly against Russia, and they drew 3-3, even though they're 3-1 up already. So disappointing result for them. But yeah, also Courtois, it's just a minor injury show, so more than likely he will be fit for the Crystal Palace game on Saturday, which is obviously good. Then Bosnia and Herzegovina, Begovic is obviously the only player from Chelsea that plays for them. They had two games. They won 5-0 against Gibraltar in the World Cup qualifiers, and then they had a friendly against Albania, which they won 2-1 as well. For Brazil, Willian obviously went out on international duty. David Luiz stayed with Chelsea. Not sure if that's just because he didn't get a call-up or if it's because of his injury. He hasn't been called up in a while, I think. It's probably not because of the injury, but because of his injury that he has been carrying for a while, it's good anyway that he didn't go on international duty. So that's good. Brazil did beat Uruguay 4-1, and they beat Paraguay 3-0, both in World Cup qualifying games. Willian only got a couple of minutes in each game, so it's not really a lot to talk about. Coming to England, Gary Cahill, obviously, as I said last week, he did captain England against Germany in Germany, a game which they lost 1-0 after Podolski's screamer in his last ever game for the national team, in which England played well and probably deserved to win. And then which was a friendly, and then against Lithuania, which was a World Cup qualifier game, Cahill wasn't even in the squad. I'm not 100% sure why. I've not found anything that he's picked up an injury. But yeah, he just didn't play, which I prefer anyway, because that means he's better rested for Chelsea. Coming to France, Kanté is obviously the only French player that went out with the French squad. They played two games, obviously, one as a qualifier against Luxembourg, which they won 3-1, and Kanté played the whole game. And then they played against Spain in Paris in a friendly, which they lost 2-0. Kanté did play that as well. But yeah, obviously talking about France against Spain, obviously coming to Spain now. We had three players going out with the Spanish squad: Azpilicueta, Pedro, and Diego Costa. Fabregas, didn't get a call up. As I said, they beat France 2-0, and in the World Cup qualifiers game on Friday, I think, or Thursday, they beat Israel 4-1, and Diego Costa actually scored a goal in that. Diego Costa did pick up, I think, an ankle injury in training after that game, so he did miss the France game. But it was just a minor injury, so also he should more than likely be available for the Crystal Palace game. We've gotten our injuries now that we haven't had for a long time all year, but at least they're not serious and they should be back fit very soon, which is obviously great. Coming to Serbia, obviously Nemanja Matic now with Ivanovic leaving or with Ivanovic having left, is the only Serbian player that we have in the team. They only played one game actually in the World Cup qualifiers game, and they beat Georgia 3-1. Yeah, that's really all of our players that went out on international duty. As I said, talked about the injuries of Hazard, obviously, who didn't even go there. Courtois and Diego Costa, but they should, as I said, more than likely all be fit for Crystal Palace. Let's hope so anyway. Now, coming to the big stories, because there's a lot of big stories this week. So first of all, as some of you maybe most of you would have heard over on social media or some news in the last couple of days, Hazard to Real Madrid is coming up again. It does every bloody year, and we have to deal with it every year. And that they want him, there's no doubt about it. So Zidane has obviously been a fan of his for a long time. Florentino Perez, who's their president, there is a new election for the presidential position coming up at Real Madrid. And they tend to always sign a big player before an election because, it just makes it easier to get, re-elected. So they want him, no doubt. There's no doubt about that. There's been very different reports from Spanish and English media. So Spanish media have been saying once a big enough offer comes in, Chelsea will at least listen to it. Not saying we'll definitely accept it or whatever, but they're saying we'll listen to it. They're actually talking about world record fees, whether that's £90 million or even more, around the £100 million figure. But then from England, and especially from Chelsea, there's just reports coming out that's saying no way. There's no way we're selling Eden Hazard, which obviously I really love hearing, don't I? Even Gullit talked about it, and he said what he hears from Chelsea, there's no way we're going to sell Eden Hazard. And he actually said Chelsea are trying and planning a summer bigger than in 04. Get ready for some signings if he's right. Get ready for some signings. Obviously, the Eden Hazard thing, they want him, of course, but he still has a contract, so we can keep him. Apparently, we're trying to offer him a new contract, which probably has to be big enough for him to just say, that's just better than Madrid. I think he'll stay this summer. Yeah, I think he'll stay. But fair play to us if we can actually, just say no to a £100 million offer. That'd just be fair enough to us. And again, talked about him last week already, Bakayoko from Monaco. There's been new reports, new news, that the deal is apparently done, or at least a personal agreement with the player, has been reached by Chelsea, which obviously is good. I very much doubt that because me personally, I don't believe in deals being done, even personal agreements being done in March. I don't think so. But, reports like that still coming out. The fee will apparently be between around £35 million and €50 million. So, yeah, that's happening. As I said, I talked about him last week. I take him, even though obviously there is the argument of we have a lot of young players in that position, whether that's Chalobah, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's more a central attacking mid at the moment. But, generally could still play a centre mid as well. We do also have Lewis Bake out on loan, who's kind of in that position as well. So in that sense, yes, why do we sign young players in that position? But then again, you also have to think about next season. And next season will be in the Champions League and we'll need a much, much bigger squad than we do have now. And with him just being 22, even though we have other players that are young in that position, for the future, the main thing is still about the success of the club. And if Antonio Conte wants him and thinks he's really good, yeah, I mean, I kind of have to go for it. And then the biggest story, really, and it's a massive story, is about Alexis Sanchez. Because according to The Guardian, English newspaper, Sanchez is Chelsea's #1 target for the summer. And usually, especially when Roman, is willing to open his wallet up, we tend to get our #1 targets. We tend to anyway. There have obviously been reports for months that he wants out, that he's not happy at Arsenal, that he wants to go somewhere else because he's not winning trophies, they're not successful enough and whatnot. And there's actually reports and there's been talk about fee up to £100 million. And, Alexis Sanchez, not just because of that fee, if it is that fee, let's see. But just because of the name and the kind of player he is, he probably be at least up there with our biggest signing ever, if not our biggest signing ever. Because, yeah, Torres was a big name, but first of all, he didn't turn out so well. And also, he was also already carrying an injury before we signed him and stuff. He would probably be the biggest player we've ever signed. Debatably, leave me your comments on that down in the comment section below. Whether I do think we will actually sign Sanchez, no, I don't. Because I think Arsenal are way too scared to, fall down the drain even more in the Premier League by selling by far their best player to one of their biggest rivals in Chelsea. I think they'll have to accept that he'll leave, but I think they'll try their hardest not to sell him to another team in England. I don't think it will happen, but I'd be well happy if it does. But yeah, that's really all of our stories. today. So I hope you guys did enjoy it. Again, check out Louis' video about Zola versus Hazard. Check out that. Leave a comment. What is your opinion on that? But yeah, again, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Leave me all of your thoughts on all those stories I mentioned down in the comment section below. Do you think Hazard will go to Madrid? Do you? Just let me know. Bakayoko, again, obviously some of you have commented last week that you're not really particularly happy with it. But like I said, we do need to think about the Champions League next year. We will have a lot more games coming up, so we will have to rotate more. And yeah, so again, leave me thoughts on that in the comment section below as well. And about Sanchez, would you want him? I don't think there's a lot of us that wouldn't, but do you think it's going to happen? Told you my opinion on it, but yeah, leave me your thoughts. Leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. We massively do appreciate that, you know, obviously getting us closer to our next target of 30,000 subscribers. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. Thank God the international break is over, and you know, obviously Chelsea playing on Saturday. Up the Chelsea, and I'll see you next time.